Welcome to the Backyard Broadcast and Video Library. I'm Kelsey Deckert, your horticultural agent here in Burleigh and Morton County, and today I'm going to visit with you guys about starting seeds. So why do we start seeds indoors? The main reason is it opens up new possibilities for your garden. You won't be limited to growing only what's available at the local greenhouses and nurseries around town. If you start your own seeds, you'll have an opportunity to grow 1,000 different kinds of vegetables, flowers, and herbs. There's other advantages too, such as when you actually start them from seeds, you're going to have transplants that will be directly sown into the garden rather than using seeds. And sowing transplants into your garden is going to lead to an instant and fuller crop stand. It'll also lead to earlier blooms and harvests. So some things to consider when you are starting seeds indoors is the soil, the temperature, moisture, light, the containers, seed sources, and fertilizer. Starting seeds may not be a simple task if you've never done it before, but even those of us who have been very well versed in the gardening world may still struggle without knowing the basics. So starting with soil, you don't want to use plain garden soil. You need to find a good seed starting soil mix or potting soil mix. It really helps to find one that retains moisture, as potting mixes tend to dry out faster. And there's a lot of those on the market these days that will retain moisture. Potting mixes are sterile, so that means that they're going to be weed and disease free, which is a huge advantage. Soil mixes are going to be lightweight as well, and a lot of these mixes are going to consist of peat moss, compost, and perlite. When we look at the temperature that our soil needs to be, seeds are going to germinate better if the soil temperature is consistently or above 70 degrees. You'll want to keep your seed trays in a constantly warm place, so avoid window seals as they become drafty and almost too cool in the mornings and at night for seeds to germinate. Having that consistent warmer temperature will signal the seeds to germinate. Providing a heat source underneath the container can be beneficial to the plants as well, so you may want to invest in electric heating mats. Our seeds need to be constantly moist. We never let the growing media dry out or become too wet. If you think about it, like if you're doing dishes and you wring out your rag, that's kind of the moisture level we want our containers to be. So it's recommended to use a spray bottle to mist them every day. A watering can work too, but you got to be careful of causing the seed to rise to the surface or even washing away soil. The water should be at room temperature when you are watering your seeds. Light is going to be a key factor, but don't worry so much about the quality of the light. It is going to be the quantity that matters most. Once sprouted, you'll want to provide additional light if needed. Growing seed under fluorescent lights aids in keeping temperature consistent. Keep the lights about 2 inches above the plants, but no more than 4 inches, as a lack of light can cause elongated, skinny stems. Plants require roughly 12 to 16 hours of light a day. There are several types of containers available. Plastic containers work well as they can be reused. When reusing them, it is going to be recommended to sterilize the containers. So to sterilize, simply place a clean container, so after you've cleaned it, in a solution of bleach or another disinfectant for 30 minutes. Advantages to using your plastic containers is it's going to be easy to fill. It's going to be easy to move. You can maximize the plant density in there, so how many plants you can actually get in there. They're reusable. And then some disadvantages of using plastic containers will be that you can have root-bound plants, transplanting shock, there will be the need to sterilize, and they're not going to be eco-friendly. Here's another type of plastic container. On the left, you'll note that the container has a lid which will assist in retaining moisture. If you don't have a lid, you can simply drape plastic wrap over your container or even add popsicle sticks to the container to keep that plastic wrap above it, almost giving it a greenhouse effect. You can also see in this photo that there are biodegradable containers being used as well. So biodegradable is going to be great. A really easy container that's going to be biodegradable to use would be an egg carton. Divided containers are going to work the best so you can keep the seeds in individual areas. Advantages of using biodegradable pots is They are eco-friendly. There's going to be less transplant shock when you do put them in the garden because you can put them directly in. And then disadvantages, depending on what you're looking for, it can be costly. You will most likely have lower plant densities. And again, these can become root-bound plants as well. It's important to use labels for each container, noting the variety and the date sown if you would like. There's a variety of labels out there you can purchase or even create your own, such as using popsicle sticks or plastic spoons. Both of those will work well. When sowing seed, always look at the seed packets as they contain the information you will need. So you'll want to fill your container with soil almost to the brim with a moistened soil. Refer to the label for the depth that you want to plant those seeds. If you're using individual containers, only put a couple seeds in. With flats, you will space your seeds a 1/2 inch apart if you're going to transplant them into a larger container. If the seeds will just be in one container, you will want to space them 1 to 2 inches apart. And as the plants start to grow, you're going to thin out the smallest and weakest plants as well. Seeds are available from many different sources, whether you love shopping in the store or you look forward to receiving catalogs in the mail. Many gardeners will receive their catalogs in January, and they enjoy looking through different varieties. They also like to see if there is new varieties, and it's just something that helps them, I guess, get into the mood for spring and starting seeds in the next coming months. If you do end up with extra seeds, you can carry them over to the next year, but remember, the fresher the seed, the more viable it will be. If you do have leftover seed, it's best to store the seed packets in an airtight container and keep it in a cool place. A refrigerator is going to work really well. Our gardening TV show, The Dakota Growing Live, myself and Tom Kolb, an NDSU horticulturalist, we talked about in our episode in January about some of his favorite seed catalogs to order from and advantages that they have. Here's going to be a really nice chart as a reference as far as just some common plants that we use, when to sow them, the optimal germination temperature, approximate days to germination, and then when you want to transplant. Key factors are going to include the last frost date, the growth rate of the plant, and the desired date to transplant. So let's go over each of these factors. The last frost date, gardens in the north will suffer a later frost date in the spring. So northern gardeners, such as us up here in North Dakota, we will have to sow our seeds later, which makes sense because it's gonna take a while to warm up here. Typically around this Bismarck-Mandan area, our last potential frost date is going to be right around May 12th to May 15th. Your growth rate is going to be just referring to how fast your seedlings grow. So some seedlings, such as cucumbers, grow really quickly and need to be transplanted only 3 to 4 weeks afterwards. Other seedlings, such as peppers, are going to grow slower and require 8 weeks before transplanting. The desired date to transplant is just going to refer to what plants can tolerate. So some plants can tolerate frost, such as broccoli, and we sow them earlier. Some can't, like tomatoes, so we sow them later. Again, this is a really nice reference chart that comes out of one of our NDSU publications on starting seeds indoors. Fertilizer. So the good thing about seeds is they are full of food. This food will last until you see the first true leaves. So the first true leaves are going to be after you have your cotyledon leaves. So the first two that are at the bottom, those next leaves that emerge are going to be your true leaves. And when we start to see those emerge, we'll need to fertilize the plant. Soluble fertilizers such as Miracle-Gro are going to be very convenient. A balanced fertilizer like 20-20-20 is great. Basically, you want to keep your eyes on your plants, monitor the color. If they're getting pale, they might need more fertilizer. So just again, a reference over here for you to look at for those of you who are viewing it, but just know seeds provide enough food until the true leaves appear. Soluble fertilizers is going to be easy and convenient. You can use half strength weekly. If your plants are showing that they're pale in color, that means they're hungry. If you start to see browning on the edges, that's going to suggest that they're burning, so you don't need to add fertilizer or you're adding too much at a time. Finally, when moving our plants outdoors, we are going to have to harden them off. Hardening off plants means that they gradually get accustomed to the outdoor environment. So 2 weeks prior to planting them outdoors, we want to move them outside each day for a few hours in a shaded area in the afternoon where they're going to be protected from the wind. We'll bring those plants back inside each night before the temperature starts to fall. Each day, extend their time outside, exposing them to the sun more each day. After 2 weeks, as long as there isn't any freezing temperatures forecasted, the plants will be ready to be transplanted. To have a really nice kind of mild transfer, you're going to want to transfer the plants in a late afternoon or on a cloudy day. That way they can really get accustomed to their environment. This last slide is just going to give you my photo credits. Thank you and have a great day.